Good day, everyone. It's Peter Dodd, Pete the Planner, coming to you live from my home office since March 12th. Happy pre-Thanksgiving week, and welcome to my friend Damian Dunn, co-host of this illustrious program. Hello.
Hello, Pete.
What's happening with you this week?
Man, just enjoying this transition to cloudy, dreary, cold Indiana winter. How about you?
I haven't been outside. Yeah, but it looks nice. It looks nice outside. Just been doing a lot of live streaming. I feel like if I was a gamer, like if I played video games, I could be on Twitch or something, but I'm a bald businessman who talks about money, and I live stream all over all the time. So that's what I do. So anyway, all right. The crew is showing up. Anne, hello. We missed you last week. Danza, good day. Dame, you and I briefly discussed doing a very special Black Friday event next Friday. One, we have to get a radio show in because we took last week off. Why did we take last week off? Was that being lazy? Oh, I had a live streaming event.
Yeah, you had a conflict.
Oh, man, look at everyone's here. This is so great. Sharon, everybody. Wow, it's so good to be with you today.
Anyway, next week, live stream. What are we thinking here?
Yes, I'm game. Maybe? I mean, unless, who knows?
Okay.
But I think I'm in. What am I going to be out in Black Friday sales?
No.
All right.
No,
so I'm in for that.
Okay.
Dame, here's what's on the show today. We've got a question about financial advisor fees. We have a question about paying down debt versus investing. And then I'm going to tiptoe us into the dark forest of student loan forgiveness as political policy. Why am I doing that?
Sounds fantastic.
All right. So you and I, before we do that, I mean, we're going to have at least a minute or two of disclaimers before we have that conversation. Man, I will preview that conversation, which will likely come in the third segment here. I have mixed feelings, like really, really, really mixed feelings. And I think what's tough is that I'm going to express some of those feelings that will disagree with some other people who then I want them on board with me so I can agree with other aspects of it.
Yeah.
Oh, Craig's here. Oh, look, Craig Anderson's here. Man, he is the king of student loans.
Can he just do that segment?
He can. Oh, man. I wish we could. We could actually send him a link and he'd be on here now. He always is handsome. He's got good hair. He may not have put on his face, though. And we need the separate feed for radio, so that won't work.
That's true.
All right, let's start the show. I don't know how much energy I have today. I was doing a lot of pirouettes earlier. I don't know what I was doing. Okay, 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us, askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com, and we might just help you. Thank you for all listening in the Pete the Planner radio network. That's not an official thing, but there's a bunch of affiliates, and we appreciate you listening. And by we, I mean my friend Damian Dunn, Vice President of Advice at Your Money Line and Hey Money. Happy pre-Thanksgiving, Dame.
I am working, making sure that I've got plenty of room for the feast. I guess it's not actually going to happen since we are now back pretty much in quarantine.
Well, I hope everyone stays safe. And no, the Thanksgiving is not canceled. Christmas is not canceled. Your holidays are not canceled. We're just trying to look at them differently this year for everyone's safety. That is not endorsed by the CDC. I just want to get back to normal, so everyone just chill out and stay at home. Dame, here's the first question. Financial advisor fees. Dear Pete, I'm located in Indiana. What is a reasonable fee for a fee-only advisor? What services should I expect for that flat fee? I've seen $600 for a 2-hour retirement readiness assessment, and I've seen $1,200 a year fee. Ooh, I like this question, and I especially like the examples they gave. So, Dame, I have to say, the fact that they're in Indiana sheds a little light on what the pricing should be. I mean, if they were in Manhattan or San Francisco or something like that, the fees would be astronomical. What do you think, Dame?
So let's compare to another way that you might normally pay a financial advisor. That's based off of the assets that advisor manages for you. So that could be anywhere from, 0.8% or to all the way up to, I've seen and heard of 2% recently, which
What?
still blows my
2% of
mind.
assets?
Yes.
Okay, so let
And
me do some math here for everybody. Let's say you've got a $300,000 portfolio. That means at 2%, you would pay the person $6,000 a year to manage your money. That's $500 a month to manage a $300,000 portfolio. Dame, not only is that salty, that's just completely unnecessary.
it's a little stiff, isn't it? Regardless, there are two main ways that you're going to pay. Typically, the asset-based compensation. Traditionally, the other way was commissions, but this fee only, this flat fee advisory fee is starting to gain traction, and frankly, I'm happy for that. So, what could you expect to be covered for a flat fee? It really depends. If you are looking for something simple like a 2-hour retirement readiness assessment, you're going to pay a much smaller fee. Basically, whatever that advisor's hourly rate's going to be, think somewhere in the neighborhood of $125 to $300 an hour, based on how established they are or what their niche may be. Maybe this person typically works with doctors or doctors in residency who are just starting to get traction. Maybe they work with small business owners, who knows? But it's going to depend a lot on who they are, how established they are, what their niche is, and trying to figure out what their time is worth. So if it's simply a per hour or a flat hourly charge, you're going to get one fee. If it's something bigger, an ongoing relationship, that yearly fee where maybe you talk to them quarterly or twice a year, or maybe you just have access anytime you want, that fee is going to go up quite a bit, because there's going to be theoretically more time spent with you. And that's okay, because if they are going to be a resource for you, goodness, you got to take advantage of it and start asking them all sorts of questions and getting their input on things that maybe you just would have done yourself going forward. But to have that oversight available to you to make sure that you're doing right, you're staying on track, and maybe you're accomplishing things that you hadn't considered previously, that depth of that relationship is what you're paying for in that annual fee. So what's reasonable in the state of Indiana? Figure somewhere, like I said before, between $125 to $300 an hour. And the annual fee is going to fluctuate a little bit. So $1,200 a year is going to be on the low side, I think. I wouldn't be surprised if some people are charging close to $5,000 a year for a flat fee financial advising relationship. That may or may not, by the way, include managing your assets.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go, Dame, is that, if you need your assets managed, you answer the question one way. If you don't, then I love the hourly advisor. I mean, I would pay a couple hours worth of work to have my financial plan put together. And let's say you're a do-it-yourself investor and you're actually pretty decent at it, and you educate yourself on a regular basis. I don't think it's necessary for you to pay an assets under management fee to an advisor just to get a financial plan out of it when you're actually managing your own financial plan. That's the distinction of the industry. You are either advising on the investments or you are advising on the strategy of the mechanics of a financial life. And I think it's the confusion between the two that very frankly, and at the risk of alienating a lot of friends in the industry still has not come to terms with. The fact that it's really hard to find an hourly fee-based financial advisor is proof enough that the industry has not quite figured this out yet.
It's a lot harder to run that business if you're simply an hourly advisor, because you're the pond that you're fishing in has to be much, much bigger. Instead of just looking for maybe 50 families that you want to have a relationship with and get an annual recurring fee from that, that becomes much more predictable income wise. But if you're going to go hourly, that becomes a little bit of a challenge. But I want to back up just a little bit on something you said about the benefits of working with an advisor. Honestly, in my perspective, one of the biggest benefits an advisor brings to the table is to keep you from doing something foolish that's going to hurt you long term. It doesn't take a ton of knowledge to create an investment portfolio that's okay for
Ooh,
what you're trying to accomplish.
that comment's spicier than you might think what you just said.
I know, but it, there are ways to get really, really fancy investment portfolios, and that's okay. But it doesn't have to be super complicated. So,
all right, I'm calling timeout. One of
all
the things that
right.
drives me crazy about our industry that we're not really in, that we're on the side of, is when people are like, and we'll have a custom investment portfolio built for you. And it's like, people don't need a custom built investment portfolio. In fact, if your advisor is making a custom portfolio for you, that means they have to add more investments on their watch list to keep track of. There shouldn't be custom built for each individual. That doesn't even make sense, because an advisor can't efficiently deliver on that and deliver high quality advice in the process.
You want your advisor to be really, really well versed on the maybe 20 or 30 investments that they track on a regular basis, know them inside and out. Outside of that, I don't care if they know anything on investments, but know those, and then know what proportion I should have of those investments in my portfolio to fit my risk tolerance, my time horizon, and all of my other goals, to make sure that it's appropriate for me. That's what customization is, not necessarily that you've got specifically unique investments in your portfolio.
Yeah, well, it's like there's a commercial, I'm not going to name names. They're like cookie cutter portfolios. I'm like, no, just give me a cookie cutter portfolio. But I'll take it. I don't really care. In fact, how a lot of my own money is managed. I manage some of mine. I use another service, and then I use a person. So 3 different things going on. The service is all cookie cutter. Mine is stupid. And my advisors actually has some intelligence to it. Dame. All right. So the answer is $125 to $300 an hour if you're going to just sit down and talk about financial strategy, which I highly recommend people do. And by the way, some people actually don't even need a technical financial planner to work through their financial challenges, which is why we created Hey Money. We're financial problem solvers that don't necessarily deal with investments, but deal with some of the decisions people have to make. You can go to callheymoney.com and sign up. It's less than $20 a month. How about that? Dame, coming up after the break, what are we doing? We're talking about investing or paying down debt. That's what we're doing right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Oh, Jordan says he's here for the witty banter. I'll let you know when that starts.
Yeah.
Jordan posted a picture the other day on social media. This is going to borderline creep people out. He posted a picture of a den, like an old fashioned den at his house, like
wood paneling.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was amazing. Like a true throwback, and he was insinuating in his post, like the goal was to never let the kids in the den. So it can be this, adult space. But man, it was a beautiful den. I was like, man, I want to hang out in that man's den. I'm resetting the sound here, Dave. Okay. Whenever we tell Ted anything or ask him to do anything, he has his voice and let's go, okay. It's real. Ted, you got to go to bed in 5 minutes. Okay.
Really? Is that easy?
For Ted. My daughter pulls that in a different direction, though.
I understand.
See, this explains. Jordan says a dentist owned the house originally, and it was his private office. Oh, man. Do you think, are there a lot of secret cavities in there?
Nice.
It has a wet bar in it, too.
Maybe that was where he rinsed. When he says private office, you mean he had a chair in there?
I don't know. I'm totally into this now. All right, hey, let's start this segment. I'm gonna run out of energy. 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner Show. Dame, I got a question here from Ryan from Toledo. I believe that's Toledo, Spain, or Toledo, Ohio. I have to say, Dame, that I once was in Toledo, Ohio for a business conference, and this was in the January or February, and it was probably 16 years ago. And all I remember about Toledo is there was this just really, really muddy, icy river outside of my hotel, and everything was gray. And it's sad because I'm sure Toledo's a fine place, but all I think about when I think about Toledo was this dirty, frosty, gray river. Isn't that nice? I bring that up.
I think their visitors bureau is really happy right now.
Hello, Duns. My wife and I have been plotting out our financial goals for 2021, but have hit a little snag in deciding what our overall theme should be for the year. Together, I like having a theme for the year. Dane, what's your theme for 2020?
Paisley, I think.
Okay. Together, our incomes are just north of 350,000 American dollars, roughly $17,000 take home a month. This is where some listeners go, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Or they stop listening altogether because they're just angry at that person's income. I think if we worried about other people's income a little bit less, we'd be better off. But
yes,
I'll get off my soapbox. We're both contributing healthy amounts to our 401k, more than 10%. For the most part, our financial situation is relatively stress-free as we decided to buy a modest home, do not have children, and don't live a lavish lifestyle. Oh man, that's the holy trinity right there.
Right there.
Listen, Thomas Dunn, if you're listening right now inside their house and you just heard me say that, your dad loves you very much. So does your fake Uncle Peter. The question lies in what to do with our excess liquid cash. We have a savings account with $80,000 in cash that we kick into every month. I mean, before we go too much further, Dame, they got to stop doing that.
No, let the story play
Have you read this question yet?
I have.
I have not. I've let it grow higher than I normally would due to the unstable situation revolving around the pandemic and wanting the comfort of knowing cash is available should any situation arise. They could use the money to clean up that river in Toledo.
Good.
We have two primary sources of debt, a mortgage that has roughly $200,000 left on a $220,000 loan, 4.15% APR, $1,500 a month mortgage. My wife's medical school loans of $310,000 balance with a $2,500 a month payment, currently being paid interest-free due to the forbearance on student loans. We carry no other credit card debt, and student loans are paid, and both cars are debt-free going into 2021. Should I use the excess cash in savings to pay off principal on the existing mortgage and student loans, or should I take the excess cash out of the extremely low-yield savings account and invest that into the S&P 500 or other areas of the market looking for higher returns and continue making my existing monthly payments? Thanks for the show and all you do. Dame, what do you think?
I'm going to say something that you might find unpopular.
Okay, let me. So for those watching on Facebook Live right now, I'm going to go with a one shot of Dame's face. Okay, Dame, go ahead.
I think you should wait. I think he should status quo. Just keep doing what you're doing right now for a little while longer. Let's see what this administration has up its sleeve, or the incoming administration has up its sleeve, I should say, for student loan forgiveness. I have to imagine that a portion of that medical school loan is a federal balance. And if there's going to be some forgiveness, let's just see what happens there. And then on top of that, does she qualify for PSLF? Is that an option?
Well, for those that don't know what PSLF is, now I've got to jump in as the professional host of the show and say what that acronym stands for. It's Public Service Student Loan Forgiveness. Public Service Student Loan Forgiveness. It's when you work in the public sector, you work for a nonprofit, and that nonprofit may qualify you to have your student loans forgiven after making standard payments over a 10-year period, and then the remaining balance is forgiven as part of the PSLF program. Damian, I'm not so sure why you didn't want to cover that in your answer, but go ahead. I didn't think I'd have much energy today, but I do. So this really does set up the conversation, Dame, about the student loan forgiveness that we're going to have in the next segment, doesn't it?
Very well.
I'm with you. I think they need more time. I would correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't comprehend things I read very well. Wouldn't the first step be to stop saving so aggressively into the savings account and use additional discretionary income to put towards any of these concerns rather than a balance sheet transfer, which draws money out of savings and just pays off debt?
I think that's where it will go. I'm not dismayed by the fact that they've got $80,000 in a saving account right now. I think that's fine. I would much rather see them just start diverting what I assume is a significant amount of cash each month towards the student loans and getting rid of those. I would much rather see them go that direction than opening a retail brokerage account, non-qualified account, and putting it into the S&P 500 right now. I'd love to see this couple get their student loans under control before they really start focusing on building assets outside of their employer-sponsored retirement plans.
You know, we're getting there already, but I know one of the proposals that seems rather popular with student loan forgiveness with President-elect Biden's administration, which starts in late January, is this idea of $50,000 of student loans being what is waived, having a cap to it. And there's thought that can actually be done via executive order, which I think is pretty fascinating too. So Dame, if this person has $300,000 in student loans, they can still take some action here with their monthly payments and not touch their savings to transfer the savings over to pay off a balance and still not feel like they're getting themselves in trouble by missing an opportunity with student loan forgiveness, right?
Yeah, that's all true. If they want to get started on that, they certainly could right now. What my point is that don't feel like you're backed into a corner where you've got to make a decision on doing something right now. If you want to see how things play out, by all means, see how things play out. Then you can make a more informed decision once you know what direction things are going. In fact, I think I just had this conversation this week with one of the participants that we deal with on trying to figure out which direction are they going to go. And it's not a horrible situation that you're in. You've kind of got the best of both worlds with not being charged interest on student loans at this point. And then if you want to see how things are going to play out, you can. If you want to be aggressive and go ahead and start taking some of that monthly surplus in your income, go ahead. I would direct towards the student loans though at this point. And if you are, depending on the balance sizes, if there are some private and some public, maybe focus on the private ones right now. The chances of all 310 being in government loans, probably pretty small. But if they are, then do whatever you want. But if you have private loans mixed into that 310, I think that's probably where I would start focusing my extra payments.
Yeah, I have to agree with you 100% in that regard. This person is clearly what we call a group 3 around here. This person is an orange team member, if we want to use some of the Your Money Line lexicon within our offices. That is to say, they're incredibly stable. I would guess, and let's get into the weeds here, Dame, they will likely have a stability index score of 87 or more, like it's going to be super high out of 100. That is to say, it's business as usual. How can you strategically make decisions with your income by leveraging your stability to take your life further? And I really do think the answer is to get aggressive with whatever private student loans exist within that loan portfolio, which buys you time on the federal loans. And you've got a lot in savings. I would not move that savings at all over to pay off any debt. Like, that always drives me nuts when people use an accumulated amount to then take out a big chunk of debt, especially if you've got really healthy cash flow. Like, that's what I would do. So anyway, Dame, coming up after the break, an extensive conversation about student loan forgiveness, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the things that will send angry email our way. I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the show. Lots of good questions coming in here. Shana asked, if student loans are forgiven, who takes on the debt? The taxpayers? All right, so it's complicated, right, Dame? Because the government insures essentially these loans, right? The loans are not. Wow, this is where Craig Anderson needs to be part of this conversation. Craig, answer this question for us. On the federally backed student loans, is the federal government, are they the lender? Because I know there are servicers. So the fact that there's a servicer, he put no. Now I don't know what question I asked him. Okay, so answer in a full sentence, Craig. I did. Although they will be taxed on the forgiven amount unless that is waived as well. Okay. Well, this is why we do this part off the air. Dame, I'm going to reset the audio while Craig runs the show here for us, as he should. Stand by. Yeah, Danza knows how this works. She's saying Oz has got a brace for handling rage email now. Okay. Okay, here comes Craig. Thank God for Craig Anderson, everybody. They are the lender and holder of the asset. Okay. So therefore, if they forgive it, they just write it off, right? There's no, yes, it's technically taxpayer money, but it is a debt. So it's, no one is paying that debt. The debt is just forgiven. Right, Dame? Is that?
I'm waiting for Craig to say yes or no.
Yeah. So Craig, you know what? Actually, let's do this. Craig, let's invite him. Hold on. I'm gonna invite him. Hold on, and then we're just gonna do this behind the scenes.
Okay.
All right. Oh, just Craig, I'm gonna email you right now. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I'm emailing Craig. Dame, how about this? This is like extra effort.
This is another reason to make the stream the podcast.
This is also why I should have a producer for the show that like does these things.
Was Ollie busy?
She's at school.
No.
He just put OJ in there. I don't even know what's happening.
Why are we bringing him into the conversation?
What are you doing, Craig? Maybe we don't want to have him on. All right, hold on. All right, I'm sending it to your Gmail account. I don't know how many accounts you have. If you're like my friend Chip, you've got like 35 accounts. All right, I just sent you the link. Okay. All right, click on that. As soon as Craig comes on, we're going to have a discussion off the air. And so that way, Dame, here's what will happen. He'll educate us as to what is going on, and then we'll take that information to the radio show.
Next segment, yeah, we're going to look really smart. Oh,
this is fantastic. All right, Craig. I hope. See, and then we can just ask questions of Craig. God, I hope he's good looking today. You know what I mean? Because he just, who knows what he was doing this morning? Who knows if he shaved or done his hair?
I mean, in comparison, though, does it really matter?
Here's what you need to know about Craig before he clicks on the link and joins the show. Number one, he is a huge comic book guy. Loves Comic Con. Oh, here we go. Oh, there he is. Craig.
Hey, guys.
How are you? Wait, can you hear us?
My headset's not working, but
we cannot hear you yet. Oh, wait, it's because, Dame, I got to switch my headphones. That's my fault. You can hear
I can't hear him either.
Craig, can I hear you?
Now I can hear you.
I cannot hear you.
Oh. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear him. I had to change my source. It's going to sound really weird, I bet. Hang on.
Okay, I'm going to change my source too. Hold on, Craig. Sorry, everybody. Trust me, if no one's left, this will be amazing. Craig, are you there?
I am here.
I did it. Yes. Okay. Hi.
Hey, guys.
Here, put your face up higher. There we go. You know
Make
what?
myself taller.
How about that? No, I don't like you on the bottom. Craig, you're in a done sandwich. All right, Craig. So give us your background.
Okay.
Give us your background here.
So I spent 25 years in higher education finance working for big Fortune 500 companies like Sallie Mae and Chase, originating and selling student loans. And then I ran a not-for-profit here locally to balance my karma that helps students repay their loans through their schools.
Okay. So if there's student loan forgiveness right now on the federal level, it is a debt that's just forgiven. No one's actually paying for that, right?
Well, the feds hold the asset, right? So they originate the asset, they service it through third parties, and then they hold the asset. So we as taxpayers ultimately own that asset. So if they wipe that off the federal books, that's just more debt on the national debt that we all ultimately owe, right? So
I'm trying to get my head around this, but it's money they currently don't have. But the fact that there's an obligation due is why it is considered an asset.
Right.
Because it's for future payments.
Right.
Okay. So my other question that we're going to talk about in the next segment when we kick you off the show and take credit for your knowledge is there's a lot of people in default, and I think you know a lot about default. So the idea that that will somehow improve our economy if their loans are forgiven isn't necessarily the truth, because they don't have a monthly obligation they're fulfilling right now. They simply are just getting the burden of debt removed from their future.
Correct. Right. So it improves their credit if that comes off. But no, I mean, especially right now, nobody's making payments now anyway, because they've got not forgiveness, but no one has to make payments right now because of COVID, right? So if they get rid of the debt, then that just means in the future you'll have a lower payment on your total payoff for your loan.
What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, I have a very strongly worded Facebook post about this that I'm happy to link you to. But how long do you want me to go?
We're here. I mean, I have pants on. I don't know what that means.
So here's the thing. If you think about even in your pool of clients in Hey Money, who are the people who are hurting the most with student loan debt? The people who entered into school probably at the junior college or for-profit college level. They were 25 to 30 years old. They took on $5,000, $7,500 in debt. And then life happened. Someone got sick. They lost their job, whatever. They go into default. They took on that loan thinking my life will be better with my higher paycheck. Now it's never going to happen. They're carrying $7,500 worth of debt. Their credit's shot. The feds are going after their garnished wages. If you really want to make a change in the world, forgive that debt. The dentist, was it a dentist you were talking about before?
Or a doctor.
If you can sock away 85 grand, why should I forgive 50 grand of your debt? It's ridiculous. So it's not going to, and you have to figure out, are they going to redisclose the loans if they wipe 50,000 out of 100? Are they going to disclose it? And so your loan payment comes down? That I don't know. But people like the dentist, right? If they do PSLF or even after 20 years, they'll get the debt forgiven. So why don't we target, my theory would be if I were king of the world, which has a lot of problems if that were to happen, but still.
A lot of Florida Gator stuff.
There's a lot of Florida Gator stuff, a lot of comic book stuff. At any rate, I would target the solution at the people who have been most deeply hurt by it, which are the people who honestly had best of intentions, wanted to change their life, stuff happened and they couldn't. And that's something like, I think it's something like 1 in 3 borrowers have that small asset base. The other 2 fun facts I'll leave you with, right? The average student loan debt is $29,000. Median student loan debt is what? 19. The 29,000 is because of all the doctors and lawyers and grad students who borrow big debt, pulls that average up almost $10,000. So now what we're talking about is a $19,000 loan for most people on median,
right?
Which is what? $180 a month, $200 a month max over 20 years, 10 years. Is that really that bad? So that's my question from a public policy perspective.
All right. Well, Kristen from my team is chiming in via Facebook, Queen of the Desert, ladies and gentlemen. Can you ask him to speculate about FFEL loans versus direct loans in terms of forgiveness? Can we have your speculation?
Sure. Anything for you, Kristen. Yeah, that's a car payment. Okay. There are very, very few FFEL loans left. Most of those have been.
Define that. What is it?
Sorry. So the FFEL are the old federal loans where private lenders like Chase, Sallie Mae, Citibank originated those loans and carried them through repayment, but they were federally subsidized on the risk. Those loans quit being made in 2010 because they were wrapped up in the passage of the Affordable Care Act. So no private bank has originated a federal student loan since 2010. So most of those loans are out of the system right now. There are a few that got consolidated, but if they got consolidated, the majority of them became direct loans. So that's usually the direct loan program. So I'm not sure if I totally answered her question, but there's very little FFEL debt left in the world.
You know a terrifying amount about student loans.
Yes.
Wow. Do you think this movement towards student loan, and tread carefully here, Craig, do you think this movement in the last 10 days about student loan forgiveness on social media, do you think that's more representative of a vibe than it is good policy?
Oh, and tread carefully, so I should breathe first?
Yeah.
Yes, I think it is more of a vibe than it's good public policy. It's regressive, right? If I go out and wipe out $50,000 of student loan debt for somebody who's making $100,000 a year, how is that good public policy? When you've got people who are hurting because of debt they took on. Now, granted, there's people on the margin who have $150,000, $200,000 worth of loan debt that graduated probably into the recession and it really hurt them. But on the whole, I don't think we have as big of an issue as we think. So, and to the person who said that's a car payment, I agree, but your overall lifetime earnings, because you got the college degree, are going to far outpace the fact that you might have to buy a cheaper used car when you graduate.
I have 2 questions left for you. One's about this, and one's about where people get a hold of you to get your coaching and consulting services, because that's what you do. The first is, if there is student loan forgiveness, let's say it's $50,000, how does that affect the price of college?
Well, that's a complicated question, right?
That's what I do.
Right? Yeah. Right. So there's this whole thing called the Bennett hypothesis. William Bennett, former Secretary of Education, and his hypothesis was the reason college costs have increased as high as they have is because student loans made it super easy for that to happen.
I buy that.
I buy that too. There's a whole bunch of other people who will show you studies that say that's not true, but it's just intellectually, it doesn't make sense. If you pulled student loans out of the world, costs would have to come down. So yeah, so now I've lost track of the original question.
No, that's all right. I'll say this. Not once during this discussion have I heard the argument or even the idea, it's not fair to do this because I had to pay down my debt. It's like that's not what this is about, right?
I don't think it is. I think it's about, I think really, like I told you about my strongly worded Facebook post, let's just get to the reality of the situation. The average student loan debt's $29,000. The median student loan debt's $19,000. All these, if you ask people, what do you think? Here's the question. What do you think the average size is of a defaulted student loan? Anybody in the comments or you guys, what do you think the average size is?
Dame?
It's my guess would have been completely different 10 minutes ago before being faced with the median and the average loan. I will guess 14,000.
Pete?
9,000.
$7,500.
Oh, circle gets the square.
The defaulters are the primary predictor of student loan default is non-completion.
Yeah.
Someone who's got $60,000 or $100,000 worth of loan debt, they probably graduated. They probably are seeing some of the income that they expected. So that's really the difference. The average student loan default is very low. That's why I go back to the public policy platform is who can I help the most? Whose life can I change? I can change their life. I have a guy who wanted to vote for, I think it was Warren, because she wanted to forgive student loan debt. He has a couple $100,000 worth of student loan debt and 2 master's degrees. He's making $100 and something $40,000 a year. At what part was he hurt in all this?
Yeah. This is the concept of equity. I mean, this is the concept of equitable solutions, right? Not equality in the sense that everyone gets the same thing, but it's if people who have been hurt is to make that situation more equitable.
Right.
I mean, that's the concept I think we've struggled with in terms of a racial justice platform for, I don't know, centuries. But we've really began to come to terms with that in common parlance here in the last 9 to 12 months. And yes, I just wanted to use the word parlance. Go to clearpathcoaches.com. That's clearpathcoaches.com to connect with Craig. He's got a great blog that I like to read. He can help with your business consulting and coaching needs. Craig is a friend of ours and obviously the best hair on the show today. Craig, thank you for your time and your service to your country.
Thanks, guys.
Can I ask him one question?
Oh,
Sure.
Go ahead.
I think there's something that could be fixed with college is how we pay for it, how it's charged to try and reduce student loan debt overall. As you just said, dropouts are the people who end up needing or defaulting on their loans for the most part. Do you think it would make sense to restructure the cost of college where your freshman year is significantly less expensive than your sophomore, junior, senior year to try and almost see if college is right for you at that point, which is, I guess you could go the community college route if you wanted to take that route to try and just gather some credits for a cheaper cost. But it seems to me that, if most of the dropouts happen during that first or second semester, we could really help ourselves by making that first year considerably more or less expensive than maybe the final 3. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that's actually, thank you for the easy pitch. That was the last piece I was going to touch on is when we talk a lot about free college, I don't know that we need to make 4 years of college free. What about if you made the first year of college free, where most of the risk lies? So, or at least fund it without student loans, and then just take student loans out once you progress past, right? That, yeah, I think if you could figure out a way to deal with the first year for especially students going into community college or trade school or some of the areas where there's that risk exists, and probably a lot of state schools as well, because we always think state schools, IU, we don't think of the more regional schools that are serving more rural communities. But yeah, that's where your risk is. It's the first year dropout. So what can you do to pull back on that? And yeah, I think if you could figure out a way to make that cheaper or figure out a way to fund it without loans, that would probably help.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Craig P. Anderson. Is it a P, right? Or did I make that up?
It is P. It is. It is not for Pete, however. It is for Paul.
We were going to have a guessing game. You've just ruined the show.
That's what I finally ruined. Perfect.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, my friend.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Take care.
God, this show just got real good.
Through no reason of our own.
Oh, I got to switch my audio back here real quick. As I'm doing that, I just want to say, I find it so exciting to talk to someone who understands something as well as he understands student loans. Like, I love the concept of expertise. It's beautiful.
Yeah, spending 10 minutes listening to him, not talking, just listening to him makes a huge difference.
All right, so let's steal all his ideas and put it in this next segment.
I think we will get some sort of award if we do.
3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show after a short break. So, this past week and a half, there's been a lot out in social media, out in the media in general, traditional media, if you will, such as radio, about student loan forgiveness. And Damian, the talk, the vibe, the heat has increased around this idea that President-elect Biden, once he is the president in late January, will potentially have an executive order that would forgive student loans. And the idea that is being, portrayed out in social media is that it will help stimulate the economy and that it makes things fair. And the reality is, it's just not that simple. It's a really, really complicated topic, like many of the topics we deal with today, and that people try to oversimplify. And so I'm just curious on the outset, what are your views on this? I know we've talked to our friend Craig Anderson from clearpathcoaches.com. That's clearpathcoaches.com. We talk to him from time to time about this topic because he was in the student loan industry for 25 years. What are your thoughts?
I think what we are dealing with, what people are asking help with, is more a symptom of a system that isn't serving the customer or the student very well at this point. We know that people aren't able to service their loans for whatever reason. Maybe it's the fact that they didn't get a job in the industry that they studied for, and the payments aren't compatible with what they're trying to pay off. Maybe they dropped out for whatever reason. Somebody got sick or the money ran out and they had to go take a job that isn't going to provide the income that they need to pay off those student loans. So are there some people that could benefit from student loan forgiveness? Yeah, I think there absolutely are. For no fault of their own, they are struggling with that student loan payment. Are there a lot of people that just want that burden removed so they can reallocate that money somewhere else? Yeah, there's a lot of people that just want to get out from underneath that payment and spend money somewhere else. So I'm still out on what the right approach here specifically is, but I think it's a conversation worth having.
I will say I am for student loan forgiveness for certain groups of people, which then you get into the fair and unfair, right? That's where this thing starts to get pretty wild. You hear people right now that are in the media already, and it's political, right? Saying, why should we have hardworking Americans pay for the elite's education? Well, that's a fair criticism if we're talking about a broad student loan forgiveness program that just wipes out everyone's student loan debts. But I don't think that's what would happen. I think it would be a more targeted approach. This idea that, if you know what, you have $25,000 of student loan debt, you're below a certain income threshold, and there would be some qualifications, then you're serving the people that need the boost of equity in their lives. I think that is conceivable. But I also think, to your point, Dame, this does nothing to address the systemic situation going on in terms of the cost of college, and sometimes feels like a treacherous first-year experience for a college student that sends people so off into the dark chasm of debt with no degree. I think those are the two big issues. College costs keep rising, and then this first-year college experience that kicks people out of the system, not because it's trying to, because it's just a really hard situation, which then leads to a bigger problem with student loans.
We know that the first and second semester is when most people are going to drop out, if they are going to drop out. It makes sense to me to reimagine how college is paid for. If you can make that first year free or significantly reduced in cost, and then increase the cost for years 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it may be, to give people a chance to figure out if college is right for them. If they go and have the time of their lives that first semester and maybe second semester, and they're like, you know what, I don't think this is going to work out for me, they can bow out gracefully with a very, very modest amount of debt, maybe free, who knows, and get on with their lives without having to worry about being burdened down with debt for something they really didn't get any value out of. If they stick it out, okay, makes sense. You're going to get the loans if you need them, and you'll be on a path to get a job that'll help you pay for it. So I'd like to see some creativity out of the educational world. Universities, colleges come together. I mean, they're some of the smartest people in the country. There's got to be a better, more equitable way to do this, to get people education who want it and not punish those who thought they wanted it, but it really wasn't for them.
Where do you think fairness comes into this, of this idea that, of course, there will be this population that have got a pretty decent financial life, and that is relative, right? But they've got six-figure income, multiple finished degrees, with a lot of student loan debt, but the means to pay it back, if they're left out in the cold here, because this is really meant to target people who you can really flip their life financially. What do you say to those people that say, well, that's not fair? Why did theirs get forgiven and mine doesn't? What do you say to that group?
I think we've got to be careful here, because there are always circumstances where people who have a bunch of student loan debt, again, for whatever reason that they may be out of their control, can't afford those payments at this point, whether it's some personal hardship or whatever the case may be, just not possible. So in general, with people who are gainfully employed, making a good amount of money, I think you pay your bill. I think you just pay your bill. There are people who have serious needs in trying to make life for their family work. And those are the people that we need to address first. Now, if we find out in 10 more years or whatever the case may be that there still needs work to be done, we'll address it. But I think you start with the more obvious cases and move forward from there.
What do you say to the people that say this isn't fair because I paid off my student loans with a second job and sacrifice? What do you think to that portion of the conversation, that group?
5 years ago, I would have sympathized with you, probably.
Why 5 years ago? I'm curious. I'm not busting your chops. I'm curious. What was 5 years ago?
I have nothing specific. I've just matured in views over certain time periods.
I'm looking forward to me maturing over a 5-year period. I will keep you posted.
So are we.
Okay.
What was the question?
What about the people that already paid off their education?
Yeah. Deals change all the time, and offers that aren't here now could be there in 5 years, and deals that maybe you took advantage of previously that weren't available to previous generations. It's just the way it goes, man. I hate to be the guy that says tough luck, but I feel like that's a bit of the circumstances. You did what you felt like you had to do, or maybe what you absolutely had to do to make it work, good on you. You should be very proud of that accomplishment and tell your kids and grandkids about it for the rest of your life. But there's a new deal potentially on the table.
A new deal. Looking at you. Okay, so we got about a minute left. There's two things I want to hit. One, we have to acknowledge that a lot of student loan debt can be attributed to actual poor consumer decisions in college by not paying back the student loan rebate check and just using it for living expenses, frivolous living expenses at times. So that's worth noting. And I forget my other point, but Dame, that's worth noting, right? Is this idea that
Absolutely.
some people are going to have loans forgiven that, oh, I remember the other point that I'm going to try to slip in 30 seconds here. If this happens, this is not going to stimulate the economy immediately within 12. Don't make that a part of the argument, student loan forgiveness lobby, because it's insincere. It could shift the reality for people who are really struggling within a couple years, but it's not going to stimulate the economy immediately. Just won't.
I agree.
Okay, I don't know why I'm arguing with myself. Coming up after the break, we're going to do biggest waste of money of the week and the news, current events, right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. Somehow we were able to take what Craig said and instantly translate that into a really good segment.
Imagine if we just would have done that all pre-show instead of in the flow of the show.
I don't know. Let's see. Danza says, what Dame said, things change. I've paid into Social Security for over 30 years, but possibly won't get to draw much or anything. That's life. Yeah,
Danza, you're going to be able to draw something. Even if they don't do anything, you'll get at least 75% of your benefit. So
now Thomas Dunn, he might not get anything.
That's right. My kids might not get anything, but
right, I'm starting resetting the audio. I'm going to jinx this here, Dame. I'm going to jinx this. Zencastr has been working very well today.
Can't believe you did that.
Okay. Ooh, Betty. Not to be insensitive, but people with student loans signed an agreement, just like I signed my car loan and my mortgage paperwork. Not understanding the terms of the agreement doesn't absolve a person of responsibility. Right? I can appreciate that. I absolutely can appreciate that. But I think there's no but. This is the concept of aid. This is the concept of relief. This is the concept of it did not go the way you thought. And to keep it going that way when we could solve the problem for everyone a little differently, that would just be punitive to keep it the way it is. Maybe. Betty, at the beginning of the show, Dame and I were talking about how I have such mixed feelings because I have a lot of that in me, what you've just expressed, a lot. Dame does too. You can see it. Betty, you should shave your head and become like a male like Dame and I, and you could be on the show. Betty, don't shave your head. You want to finish the show here, Dame? I've really dragged this out, haven't I?
It's been a great show.
It has. Can you imagine Queen of the Desert and Craig having a student loan conversation? I would just want to sit back and have a beverage and watch.
Why don't we make that happen?
We can make that happen. Oh, and by the way, let's get Phil Schumann in there too.
Oh man, there would be some.
Phil and Craig are buddies. All right, so let's start the show. Here we go. Have some current events ready if you would, because I don't have any ready. Right away, sir.
I'm working.
Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week, right here on the Pete the Planner Show, is the Zippo Sterling Silver Lighter. Combine Zippo's timeless windproof design with high-end materials, and you get this heirloom quality lighter. As the name suggests, the outer case of the lighter is made from pure sterling silver. It's buffed to perfection, giving it a mere finish, just like Damian's head. It's also 1.5 times as thick as a standard Zippo case, yet holds the same dependable components as its more affordable counterparts. Made in the USA, it ships in a hinged, velour-lined box. Dame, how much do you think a sterling silver Zippo lighter costs?
$200.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dame. The answer is $300. That's a pretty good guess, though. Here's the thing about Zippo lighters. In high school, I bought one. Why? I don't know. It's sort of a high school kid thing to do. I didn't smoke. Like, this isn't like, oh, you must have been smoking the tobacco. No, I don't. I'm not a smoker. But I bought one. And actually, I used it for work. Long story. I still have that Zippo lighter in my toolbox, which is not a euphemism. It's a box in my garage that holds tools. And it's in great condition. And I think I paid like $20 for it. Why pay $300 for something that would scratch? I don't get it, Dame.
Yeah, but do you have lighter fluid so you could actually use it?
No, I don't have lighter fluid, but it's really cool. Look, I still.
Oh, yeah. Zippo tricks.
Zippo tricks. Dame, what happened in the world of businesses this week?
Lots of stuff, but we're going to start with something that's actually interesting.
Oh, good.
We've all got sign-ins that require usernames and passwords. Well, NordPass.com listed the most common passwords of 2020.
Oh my gosh.
Pete, do you want to take a guess at what the most common password of 2020 is?
You got to go with password.
No, that is number 4, though.
Okay, how about 1, 2, 3, 4?
Close. You're on the right track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 was the most common password used by, well, the numbers that they captured, over 2.5 million people, which seems low. It's just, these are just the people who had their password exposed for some reason. It takes less than a second to crack that password, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. So other top 5 passwords: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's number 2. Picture 1, which I'm not sure why that
Picture
would be.
1.
Picture 1. Picture PICTURE 1 password followed by the ever popular 5th entry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We are not very complicated people, are we?
I'll say my password game needs some work. I'm working on it now. Sometimes I just take the recommended password that my iPhone gives me when I sign up for new accounts. But then the challenge is, Dame, then if you then go and try to access that same site on your computer, that's hard.
Also this week, I don't know if you saw it, Amazon opened an online pharmacy.
You've got a very Christy Lee vibe from Bob and Tom today when she does the news. And I'm digging it. Maybe this is the new way we do the 4th segment.
I'll take it. You know what? Can we have Christy guest host on the 4th segment and just let her read the news to us?
I could make that happen. She's a wonderful talent. So she could definitely replace you.
If you want to see me fangirl out, you make that happen, and I will.
I'll make it happen. Done. I'll do it for your birthday next year when you're 100. All right, continue.
Anyway, Retail Colossus opened up an online pharmacy Tuesday that allows customers to order medication or prescription refills and have them delivered to their door in just a couple days. Pete, I don't know. Did you look at this at all?
No, I don't. I haven't done
it. So Amazon bought a company a couple of years ago called Pillbox.
Yeah.
And the way they ship these drugs out is pretty unique. They actually come pre-packaged so that you take the day's meds out of this little box, tear them off, open the package, and it's right there. It tells you, I think, the day and the time that you need to take them, and everything's already just there for you. For people that take multiple medications, all of the pills that you need to take that place or that time are already in that package. And maybe this is common to some other retailers, but it was the first time I'd seen anything like that, and it just made all the sense in the world to me. So CVS, Walgreens kind of had a bad week, at least in the middle of the week. Their stock prices went down, but Amazon looks like they are going to try and capitalize on yet another industry.
Well, can they, which I appreciate, which is great. I love it. But could they just like maybe speed up the COVID testing process? Is Amazon involved with that yet? Can't we have them solve that?
You'd think they would be somehow. I mean, they'd be able to ship these things to all the other retailers to make this happen, because it's still taken forever in some places to get these COVID tests.
You know, we're in big trouble, you and I, if Amazon decides to get into the hacky financial advice radio show business.
They couldn't do it as well as us.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going for mediocre, Amazon can't do that.
Nobody's hackier than us.
Absolutely. I felt like during the break today, we had a guest on the live stream, Craig Paul Anderson. The show was better than it could ever be. And it was, it hurt the show.
It just hurt my feelings.
What else is going on in the world today, Dave?
Despite modest employment gains, women still 5.5 million jobs below pre-pandemic level. If you think about that, is it really all that surprising, though? With all the demands that are being placed on families these days, with kids potentially being out of school and whatnot, typically, I think women feel more of the responsibility to take care of the family than men do. Now, whether that's right or wrong, it's not surprising to me to see that women being reemployed right now is lagging. How about you?
Well, I mean, slightly related. It has been a bad year for mail.
Very, very well done. It pains me to say that. But
no, I that was a joke. But yes, I too fear for some of the gains that have been made in terms of workplace equality in relation to gender. We've taken some steps back this year. I mean, we even look at some of our colleagues and sort of their realities versus, the twins, you and I, our reality. It's just different. It's different.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is you don't have to look hard to see how the demands are different. Again, whether that's right or wrong, but the responsibilities, unfortunately, are being maybe unfairly and unjustly put on the shoulders of the women of the country, and they are coming through big time, but at a huge expense to themselves and their careers. So I don't know how we start to work our way out of that.
Oh, Dan, I should warn you, though. Someone on iTunes last week left a review of the show and said that they're sick of me being a social justice warrior. So should we stop, or do you want to finish your thought?
I think social justice warrior is probably the last thing that most people would ever equate with me. So I'm.
Oh, that's actually true. Maybe they were just talking about. See, this is your thing. I'm not involved.
I know, but I'm just looking at things through an objective lens, and I think it is rather unfair. So,
what else is in the news? I like this because you just had to keep coming up with the stories, and I just sit here and make jokes about mail.
At this point, I'm clicking on links, hoping they open. So, and I
that goes against our computer security policy at your money line.
They were.
Dame, let's just end it for this week. Here's the thing. Dame, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. We are going to do a Black Friday show. Okay, we're going to do a Black Friday show. I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. What dish do you look forward to the most?
Corn casserole, honestly.
Okay, sure. For me, it's usually I do a pretty good turkey. I'm not going to lie. I spatchcock it, take out the backbone, slap it down, butterfly it. It only takes 80 minutes to roast in the oven. I love my turkey and caramelized onion cornbread stuffing that is actually dressing because it's not stuffed into the turkey that's flat. All right, Dame, that's all we have time for this week on the show. I'm sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. Now, I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the Pete the Planner Show. Well, that was a show.
Indeed.
All I can think of is Mel Allen from This Week in Baseball. You know what he always used to say?
That's this.
No, it's a three-word phrase. How about that?
Well, yeah, but
he said that, but he also said,
yeah,
Twib Notes. This
Twib
week,
Notes, absolutely.
I was never even a baseball fan, but I watched that show all the time.
It was great.
How about that? All right, I'm gonna go. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I hope you have a good week. I don't know what else to say. I'm tired, Dame.
I'm reading through the comments that people put. Danza listed a password of 2020 sucks. I will tell you, Danza, that there are similar, more colorful passwords included in that list.
Oh, I did not know that.
There are. You didn't look at anything, so I can tell you whatever I want.
That's okay. Hey, everybody. Have a good week. Dame, I'll probably talk to you when we get off the air. So bye, everybody.